Why?
Well, I don't know. I don't like my voice, I guess.
Why, we'll see about that. Hey, we can't have this. You're the narrator.
So I'm hoping that if you can try to remember when I ask you a question, like if I ask you your name,
Yeah.
you say my name is.
Yeah.
Or where do you live? I live in Muncie.
Right.
That way, on the tape they know what I asked.
Well, I'll say Kalamazoo, Michigan. That's the wrong answer. No, go ahead. I was just kidding.
That's pretty much the main thing.
Yeah.
For the editors, can you say your name and spell it?
Oh,
right
yeah.
now on tape.
Robert, capital E dot Reynolds, Robert E. Reynolds.
All right, Mr. Reynolds. Can you say now? I'm going to ask your name. We're going to practice the old "my name is" thing.
Okay, let's shoot.
Could you please tell me your name, sir?
Robert E. Reynolds.
My name is. You got to say my name.
Oh, my name is Robert E. Reynolds. They ought to know that by now. No, I'm messing the cameraman up. You'll kill me.
Mr. Reynolds, how many years did you work out at BorgWarner?
30 years.
When did you hire in?
April the 12th of 1950. Boy, that and there almost got me. I had to stop and think, yeah.
Can you repeat that question? Yeah. Can you repeat that question?
I hired in at Warner Gear April the 12th, 1950.
Why did you start working at Warner Gear?
Well, I'd been working at the bedstead for approximately 4 years. I wasn't making enough money for a family, so I applied at Warner Gear. And of course, I had two uncles already working there. And I don't know if that was the reason I got in or not, but I got in there. And of course, you had to be a certain age. You couldn't go on a machine. You either had to sweep the floor or clean up stuff like that. I think it was 20 or 21 you had to be, and you could go on a production line. So, man, they had some doozy guys. I'm telling you. It was a bunch of good guys, though. But boy, I'll tell you what, you had to watch your stuff. They grease you up, boy, in a heartbeat.
What kind of jobs did you do out at BorgWarner? Did you start sweeping floors?
Yes, sir. That was my first job at BorgWarner, sweeping floors, pulling shavings, and all that miscellaneous stuff.
What was your last job when you retired?
Well, I was on a line machine, but they kept moving you back and forth, so I just went on labor. I thought, well, I can stay there till I retire, and so that's what I did. So I transferred to labor, and there I retired from labor.
What are some of the good and bad aspects of working out at BorgWarner? You mentioned how the guys were kind of.
I'll tell you a good one. This was a good one. I was down there in E3, and I was pulling shavings and laying that clean sawdust down, picking up the dirty and stuff like that. Well, we had a big old boss named Orville Hunt. No, Russell Hunt was. And he was a big old guy. He was one of them guys, he'd like to stand behind machines and watch the workers, you know. Some little boys come down there and they said, "Hey, Bob," said, "got to borrow some of your sawdust." I said, "What the heck are you guys doing with all the sawdust?" They wouldn't say a word. I looked down there and I seen they had a bunch of metal pans, you know, made into a square. And I said, "What are you guys doing?" And so I pushed the cart down there and I seen what they was doing. I said, "I don't want no part of this. You guys get me fired in a heartbeat." "Nah, you won't get fired." I said, they made up a sign, stuck it down in one of them metal pans. "Here lies Russell Hunt," and it had a place for his name. And why he died, left the company, said died in the service of the company. I was up there cleaning around them machines, and the boss there was Ernie Cook. He called Russell Hunt up, and he said, "Hey, Russell," he told him what aisle to come down, right where that was. Oh, he come down there, and you talk about a man being red, white, and the wind blew. Oh man, he was hot, like his face turned red as a beet. And there was another incident. The guys, they had a oiler, and his hair was thin. They started calling him Skinhead. Well, they had a wooden box where he kept his grease guns and all that. And so they got, them crazy guys went over, got some of that marking lacquer, put Skinhead, wrote Skinhead on there. Well, I was game to do anything. They said, "We'll watch out for you." He said, "You go in there, go over there and put that in there." So I went over there and I was right. And you know when you can feel somebody's watching you? Well, I looked over at the right and just around the corner. Guess who was standing there? There was old Skinhead. He went over to the boss. He says, "Don't you worry, Bob. We'll protect you." That was the guys on the. So about 2 days, my boss come around there and he said, "I'm sorry. I accused the wrong person." So I didn't go into it any further. And they just, made it kind of interesting out there. But we had a lot of fun with the guys. A lot of them was older men from World War II, got out after the war and come back to their jobs. And this one poor guy, he'd been captured by the Japanese. He wasn't nothing but skin and bones. I don't know whatever happened to that man. But he come back and he worked, I don't know how long he worked. He worked there, and I think in grinding department. And, he just moved on, I guess, or died, or had he caught something that, being starved to death, why, it makes it easy for a person to pick up a disease or some kind. But a lot of, now, I'll say one thing for a lot of the company officials. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of Art Engel. He's dead and gone. But he was a company man, and he was up there quite a ways. And if you told that man the truth, he'd go to bat for you. But if you lied to him, you better get ready, boy, because he's going to hang you to the cross. Well, one time up there on the band line, they got a bunch of bad glue. Man, we had about 4,000 bands. The glue was no good. The bands wasn't sticking to the liners. So Stuart, I said, "Well, what are we going to do?" I said, "Man, that's a lot of money we got up there on there." He said, "Yeah, I know." So he went there. Leonard Deming, he was the superintendent up there then. He said, "You boys ain't going to get paid for it." And our Stuart said, "Really? You ain't going to get paid? We ain't going to get paid for it?" "That's right." He said, "Well, we'll see about that." So he calls out Plant 3, to Art Engel. Art Engel come up there. He said, "Now look, I'm not coming out here again." And he said, "If I do, you better start looking for another job. Now, you pay them boys for them bands. It's not their fault." And boy, that put a quietus to that. And of course, the superintendent for Plant 1, he was kind of raw-jawed about that, being cut in by Art Engel. But, right's right. And I'll go to bat for Art Engel. He might have been sometimes he was a rough cob, but as long as you was in the right, he'd stand right behind you. or beside you, either way you want to look at it. And that's the dealings I had with him. Some of the other ones, I never had much dealings with them. But there was a lot of good bosses there, and treated you right. You know, some don't turn your back. You better watch them. And but it was a nice place to work when I worked there. And I'll say one thing: you ain't got that camera running. Turn that camera off a minute, please. Is it off?
No.
Oh Lord, I was going to make a little comment, but I better not. But it seemed like, of course, there was back there when I was working there was Studebaker, Nash, Hudson. Oh, them Hudsons, get out there and fly, boy. And so when I got, they had all them different jobs from them different companies. Well, when I went back there to the S building, that's what were the line machines. They was back there testing these here Ramblers. Now you or I would put on our brake. Not them, man. They'd jam that sucker up in reverse, and boy, just lay that rubber down. God, there goes the. Well, they'd do that maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then take it back into the engineering department, put it on list, tear that transmission down, and find out where their weaker spots was, and come up with something stronger to make the transmission hold up. I'll tell you what, one time Ford come in there, and this one engineer for Ford, I don't know who he was, but he said, man, he said, I wish we had that automatic. And of course, he didn't say it where somebody else could hear him, but the guys telling me about it said, man, they had that there automatic. I'll say one thing for Warner Gear. They stood behind their work, and they made their jobs right. Now I wouldn't buy a kiddie car with a transmission built by them. Because when you start in Mexico, well, what does Mexico care about them transmissions, whether they're right or wrong, you know? And pretty soon you start getting duds and stuff like that, and they say, well, Warner Gear ain't no good no more. Well, you can't blame people. Of course, they don't know, but I don't know. I understand everybody's got to make money, and that's the long and the short of it. But if you can't make a good product, that money ain't gonna do you no good, because people gonna say, hey, why fool with them? They won't stand behind their products, and their products is no good, and that'll kill you over the long haul. And so everybody their own thing. But now, what you want, Mr. Narrator? Go on. I could say more, but he's got the camera on. But you ain't got it on? Well, I'll tell you what. When them guys, when I went in there, them big shots wasn't sitting on the seat of their britches, polishing them. I don't know what these guys are doing down there nowadays. I think they got a bunch of seat polishers and won't get out and get to work for them. And it's a shame, but that's the way it goes. Well, when I went to Warner Gear, they was just building that new part there on past 3 there, and built all of that and everything. We started the credit union up, and just a little bit of everything, and they was always fair to me. I'm talking about the old ones. I don't know these new ones. I wouldn't give you a nickel for any of them. I don't think there's an honest man in there. Because I'm this way. If you sign your name to a piece of paper telling them guys, well, you're going to get so much, and when vacation time comes around, you're going to get $150 to go on vacation. and you sign that, I think you should stick by it. But nowadays, these companies don't care diddly squat. They take that out of your life, all them years that you work for them, and they don't preach one dime of it. They don't satisfy them, and they don't appreciate what you did for them. A lot of times Warner Gear. I seen them one time. They got into, forget what it was. And they bought in a bunch of transmissions. I don't know how many. A bunch of them. They tore them down and rebuilt them suckers up. Took them down there. Well, they took when they had Nash. Warner Gear took a transmission down there that the Nash dealership was having trouble with. Couldn't keep the automatic in it. Oh, whammo, whammo. Well, they took 3 transmissions down there. 4th one worked just fine. Now, what was wrong? I don't know. It was just a little glitch there somewhere that somebody had messed up. And so, boy, I'll tell you, Warner Gear stood behind the stuff. And if there was something wrong, they wanted to find out. They wanted to know why that wasn't doing its job right. Now that's my opinion, boys. So.
Do you mind? Sorry for the camera. Do you mind not holding your?
Go.
Yeah.
I'll put it over.
Your hands were getting in the way of your face. So.
Oh, okay. What?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, sit up there. Nah, it's okay. It'll sit. It gets contrary once in a while.
Thanks.
Did they stand behind you out at Warner Gear? Were you ever laid off? What?
Oh yeah, I was laid off. I was called back. Well, I was laid off there before I got 12 years. I was laid off more than I actually did work. You drop something. Oh, and it got hard. They'd call you back, and you just getting your nose above the water line, and they'd lay you off. But they would work you. They had 6. Well, they'd work us 6, maybe 7 days, because when Ford wanted automatics, not the next day, they want them on the road, boy, and bringing them in there. And Ford just wasn't in no waiting mood. They got them automatics, and they wanted them, and they got them. And, well, one thing, too, the assembly, they was kind of get a feather crossways, and Ford sent Warner Gear a notice about how you got to keep them guys working because we need them transmissions. Now, if you can't do it, we'll get somebody else, so we'll make them for us. Well, they went on Wildcats once too many times. Goodbye, Ford. So when they got the American Motor job automatics, and but I'll say one thing. I had a T98. It was a truck transmission, had a granny gear in it. That was the best transmission. I put it up against any of them. It had that granny gear in there. You get out there and you get stuck. You just slip that sucker up, granny, and you automatically you'd be stuck. What's the matter with them guys out there? They ain't afraid to come in here? Come on in here, you suckers. No, I better shut up. Is that Grant? No, I ain't grandson. That's the other guy. Okay. What do you want now?
Now you talked a little bit about Wildcat strikes. Sounds like they were counterproductive. When you did a Wildcat strike, you lost to Ford. So how would you describe the union and it representing your interests?
Well, there's a fine line there, and the union was great, but I think when they got that notice, well, the union told them, said, now, you've got to stop this. And I don't know where it fell on their ears or what, but they just kept on, and they lost the job. And really, I don't know. You couldn't blame the union. It's the guys that, I don't know what because I never worked in the assembly, see. And so you don't know what their pros and cons was or everything. And they always said, well, the company's trying to do this, company's trying to do that. Well, I always thought you sit down there and talk it over and get the thing ironed out and don't go off half-cock, And if you don't agree with them, say, well, that's your prerogative, but we're going to stick by ours. And, well, they just, it's just kind of hard to say the workers was at fault and so was the union. And let's put it this way, they was kind of both at fault. And of course them guys wouldn't listen, and the only way they had to deal with the company is walk out. Well, it shouldn't have been that way. And but that's the way it was, and it's a shame that Warner Gear lost that job, because boy, there was a lot of work there, a lot of work, 7 days a week. And Ford wanted their transmissions, and like I said, and you can't blame them. Ford's a big company, man. When you need them transmissions, them cars won't run without transmissions. And so it's kind of hard to blame one side more than the other. And then it could have been that maybe they were both at fault. The union should have put a quietus to it now. And I don't know whether they should have backed them up or not. That's a question that is kind of hard to say. But there was a lot of things that went on that I couldn't say about whether it was right or wrong, because I wasn't down there in the assembly, like I said, and it's just a rough proposition. To be truthful with you, I don't know. And of course, a lot of them guys, if it was more truthful in saying, telling the truth like it is, don't go around beating around the bush. And I don't know. I never was that way. I'd rather a person tell me the truth so I could figure things out for myself. But just don't lie to me, because when you lie to me, I'm out of that chair, and I figure there's no sense of talking to the person, because he's going to sit there and lie to you all day long. And I just don't have no use for him. And he know these guys were speeding, so he just said, well, I'll make a U-turn. Man, he got whopped. I mean, they whacked him. And man, I mean, when you got to get out there and go, because them guys drive on 32 going home, I mean, you had to get out there and go. They were a wild bunch of characters. Well, I mean, they was lovable guys, but that's poor old state trooper. Never did have no more trouble about the state trooper coming out there. I thought them guys. Man, I mean, tell you, how's it like trying to stop a flood? Them boys come out. Okay, now.
We're good to go.
You're good to go? Oh, he didn't get my tail, did he?
Well, I'd like to have you talk a little bit more about that then, about kind of just leaving work, how crazy it was at one point, like the effect on the community.
Oh, man, I mean, they come out of there like the 500, boy. I mean, if you didn't kick it, excuse the expression, in the tail end, man, you was in trouble. I mean, you went out there, you better get going down that road. 'Cause I mean, them boys was going home. And if you're in their way, they'll push you on home. But, oh man, they'd get them out of there like a bunch of bees, boy, I'm telling you. They had it, let's see, I don't know. Well, they didn't have that guard shack where they have it now. Let's see, no. They was, mostly the guards was on the doors, you know. You had to have your safety glasses on. So this one guy, he said, Bob, he said, these crazy safety glasses will ruin your eyes. I said, you just not find out? They would, they'd magnetize. You know what he did? He knocked that safety glass out of there. He got away for that 6 months before that guard caught him. He said, you get them glass in them there safety glasses. And he got caught. Oh, well, they had one guy. I don't know how he done it, but somehow he was needing a transmission, so he was taking out bits on the outside, you know. And how they found out, he took them home, built them, put that transmission in his car. Oh, they come out there and dropped that transmission, took it right out of his car. I don't think the guy said anything because he got in trouble. I don't know if they said anything to him or not, but he had more guts than I did. But there's a lot of guys, I don't know for very many living or not. One guy I used to work with said, well, Bob said, you're the last man over in the S building that's still living. And I told him, I said, well, thanks, Frank. I'm glad to hear that. I thought, holy cow. Well, now.
As a BorgWarner worker in 1950 in Muncie, did you feel like that was a really good job?
Oh, yeah. Best paying job. You know what? Now, this is honest God true. When I got laid off, you'd go to apply for a job, you know. We can't pay you what Warner Gear pays you. I said, hey, I got a family to feed. I said, I ain't got no choice. I've got to have money coming in. I've got to feed them and everything. And they just wouldn't hire you because they found out that you'd worked at Warner Gear. You was shot down before you got in the door. But, well, it was a shame, but, you know, I don't know if they just, everything comes to an end, they say. But I hear they're going to tear that building down. Or like Indianapolis, get a good building, tear it down. Like at their, what it was, RCA building. Boy, them people up there are nuttier than fruitcake. Who do they think's paying for that? Oh, man. I think I'd have to start bucking because somebody's got to pay for it. You guys got to pay for it. It ain't right. It's a good building. Why get rid of it? Build a new one because that one yahoo. Add on to it if you got to do something to it. Of course, he yelled, take the football team someplace else. I tell him, bye. That'd be fine. Because I'm a Chicago Bear fan. Oh, go ahead, babe. Lay it on me.
Let's see here. So within the community, you seem to say that everyone recognized, not just workers recognized that they were special, but that you guys were known.
Yeah.
Warner Gear workers.
True, yeah. I've heard guys say, yeah, if you tell them you work at Warner Gear, they raise the prices on you. Now, I don't know this to be a fact. I said, well, now, how in the world do you know this? Oh, we got our ways. And I thought, well, you know, there's ways, and I don't know. I just couldn't say that to be truthful about it. But that's what them guys had it through their head, but I just can't believe that in some ways. It might be, it could be, but I've never known it to be.
Were you active in the union at all?
Well, a little bit, not all that much. I took my stands with them, and I walked the picket line. But what gets me, is what I stood in the winter time out there on a picket line, and them nitwits they got working out there, give it all back to them. And that's what goes against. I don't show that part, please. They'll hang, but they give it to them.
The union gives back what you're fighting out there for. You mean to the company?
Yeah, we was having. We fought for that 30 years and now. We finally got it. We got it on the picket line. And I'll tell you something else. The International Union, they didn't help us out in that, because we wasn't a big company like Ford, Chrysler, and Chevy, General Motors. And so finally that one time he come up there, and this here international man, we booed him all the way back to Detroit. And just about, well anyway, Kenny Boggs, he said, now guys, settle down. Listen to the man. We listened to him. If we'd have had earplugs, we'd have been better off. But they didn't, put it this way, they didn't represent us like they did the big companies. Of course, they know they could get more out of them than they could Warner Gear, being the way they was. So there you go. It's like Goliath and David. And if you don't watch out, Goliath's going to get Davy in the end. But sometimes you got to stand up there for your own, draw the line in the sand, say, hey, we ain't going to have this no more.
So, you would say that the International really didn't represent you?
Well, up to a point.
Try to remember to repeat the question so we can get it on tape. Sorry.
Well, they come out there and they wanted our money. They come in there and the first jack out of the box. See, they had, I forget who was on strike. It was either Ford, General Motors, or Chrysler. Well, they wanted us to pay union dues for them. I don't mind helping them, but I think when the helping come, I think turnaround's fair play. I believe in that. But you know, I'll tell you, it makes a Doubting Thomas out of you, and you just don't. You just can't trust them too far. To be truthful about it. But International, well, one of these days there won't be none, because everybody's going to be out of work and nobody's going to be able to pay the union dues. And what I think it is, fellas, and I'm not laying no jokes aside, these big shots have seen what a union can help a poor man gain, like a new car, new house, and stuff like that. Well, I think they're wanting to get it down where the working man, he's gonna be lucky he makes $5 an hour. They want to cut them wages down, so they can back and lower it and lord it over him, because they want to be in control. And if they have our way, they're going to do it. Now, maybe I'm painting a cow black, but it just seems like it adds up that way. Now, I may be wrong. Now, the Lord knows I've been wrong before, but you know, He's going to sleep. We better hurry up because I want the man to go sleep all it off of there.
What, can you describe a strike other than being really cold?
Well, we had one. Us guys from Plant 3, they sent us, me and there was about 5 of us, Tony Griffey and all of us. They said, well, the semi was going to come up there and take some transmissions out. So they sent me and Tony Griffey, burly guys. And I said, Tony, he said, Bob, they ain't going to cross that line. Uh-oh. Cut me short later. Okay, what do you do now? Well, they never did show up, but anyways, I don't know how they got the idea, but we never even seen a semi. So I think it was just kind of some kind of a joke. Okay, sir.
Well, last question here.
Yes, sir.
Do you have anything you'd like to add? That's pretty much all I've got.
Well, you guys are pretty good, doing a good job. Keep up the good work.